Hi everyone, good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, so I'll give a couple of minutes, or 3-4 minutes for more people to join if they are. So then we can get started. Oh, sorry, I was speaking on mute. Thank you. Yeah. I was just saying, while we are still waiting, why don't you go ahead and introduce? We are not so many people, we are only 25 plus me. So let's start introducing one by one. We'll go with Abhijit Krishna in a line or two, in a sentence or two. Just introduce yourself so we can get to know each other better. Abhijit Krishna.
Hello, ma'am. Myself, Abhijat Krishna K. I am from NICE, Marthnicius College of Engineering.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
What's your
I am in Computer Science and Engineering branch, S3, semester 3. Yeah,
okay?
thank you.
Ben Patrick. Okay, let's go with whoever is there. Adit. All right, whoever wants to introduce themselves, feel free to just raise their hand and unmute and introduce. And we can start in 2 minutes. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Ma'am, I am Jayarshman and I am tech lead of GECB Barton Hill and I am from Government Engineering College Barton Hill. Ma'am.
Sorry, which place did you say, Jay?
I am from Government Engineering College, Button Hill, and I we are from Kerala, and
Okay. Okay, okay. So how many people are there in your group, the GDSC GECB group?
more than 300 men.
Okay. All right. So how many? So in your meeting room right now, it's only you who has joined, or there's other people too?
No, no, it's just me.
Okay. Are you expecting more people to join? Because I don't want them to miss out on the initial part. Because after that, I'm going to open up. The majority of the time, I want to open up for Q&A because people will have questions. So the part that I'm going to cover is the initial part. So I don't want people to miss out. Are you expecting more people to join?
Yes, ma'am. I accept some more people, not much, but some.
Okay. 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 Anybody else wants to introduce yourself? Please feel free to raise hand, and then so we can know who's requesting to unmute. And go ahead. Yeah, Lakshmi Parvati, go ahead.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Lakshmi Parvati from GEC Palakkad, Government Engineering College, Srishnapuram, Palakkad.
Okay, okay. Nice. Thanks for
Student in
joining.
electronics. Thank you,
Sorry?
ma'am. I'm third year student, electronics and communication doing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Pranav, go ahead.
Hi ma'am, I am Pranav from GC Barton Hill, Government Engineering College. I am first year student, mechanical engineer.
Okay. Got it. Thanks for joining. Lakshmi Parvati, you can lower your hand. The ones who have raised hand for speaking, you can lower your hand. So I'm not confused. Pranav, you as well. You can lower your hand. Yes, Dina, go ahead. Go ahead, Bina. Are you speaking?
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Go ahead. Lower your hand and speak. Yeah.
I am Linda from GECB Barton Hill. I am studying I am from IT department.
Okay. Nice. Thanks for joining. Where is this Barton Hill? A lot of people say
Trivandrum.
Trivandrum. Okay.
We are the ones actually hosting the event. So,
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Got it. So you're
I'm
all.
Rohit. Ma'am,
No, I said you're all from there mostly from
yeah, mostly.
Trivandrum, Barton Hill College. Yes. Yes, Shatnik. Go ahead. Bina, you can
Hello, ma'am. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Shatnik.
I am Shatanik Mohanty from Government College of Engineering and Technology, Kolkata. I am currently pursuing my BTech in Computer Science and Engineering, and I'm in the third year of studies. So I basically develop Flutter apps in my free time. So I'm hoping to learn good things today about how to apply to Google and other stuff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for introducing yourself and thanks for joining, Shatnik. I've seen you in a lot of Google Developer Group events, student club events, right? Am I right?
Yeah, I saw you last at Cloud Community Days and
Kolkata.
connected with you through various social media platforms.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, right.
Cool. Anybody else wants to introduce yourself? All right. If nobody else is going to introduce yourself, let me go ahead and get started. We are 10 minutes. Yeah. So we are at 7:10. I'm going to speak for about 20 minutes or so and then open it up for questions. So we can address the kind of questions you have. Because it's pretty much, it's not like a specific topic that we're going to discuss, right? It's all about what are the things you need to keep in mind, how to approach interviews in general or specifically in Google or other places as well overall. So things like that. So it is a generic topic. It's a vast topic also. So it's rather better to hear from you what doubts and questions you have, rather than just going with a set framework of topics that I want to discuss. So you're all from either the first to final year of engineering or other backgrounds of software in some way related to software, or aspiring to be software engineers, I suppose, because we have the title as interviews, tips for interviews in Google. So I assume that all of you are aspiring to be in the software world, or trying to be in and around building products or supporting or testing or being in marketing or sales, all of this around software and supporting operations for the software products. So I believe that is most of your goal. Even if that's not the case, even if you aspire to become something related to something in your domain, I hope there is something that we cover in this session that comes in handy for you when you appear for your core interest or your areas of interest. So either way, just feel free to ask relevant questions. It doesn't have to be just strictly pipelined or strictly laser focused at Google interviews, because it doesn't have to be like that, because you can be open with your interests as well. So to begin with, what I'd say, there are different kinds of interviews. Whether you're appearing for the role of a software engineer, or you're appearing for the role of an intern, which you can be put in any team, product, or in terms of, when I say software engineer, it's strictly engineering, like programming, development, and then there's other areas, like you could be appearing for marketing roles, marketing internships, sales internships. No matter what role you're applying, there are certain areas of interviews which are definitely going to be there. Apart from, I'll get to the point where you're thinking about, okay, now I'm just scared about programming. Why is she talking about these things? But hold on, that is a vast topic. But before getting there are some foundational areas which everyone needs to be. It's a common foundation for everyone who everyone who aspires to interview for companies like Google, or interview for Google, or interview for any company for that matter. There are some areas like behavioral, collaborative, like how much of a team player are you, leadership roles, leadership interviews, interpersonal skills, interpersonal interviews, and there might be even some rounds where they will do is, or how you communicate as a team player, or how you communicate a problem statement, how you communicate your solution and stuff like that. So there are multiple different layers of interviews, and not just the ones that you're looking for. Of course, there is telephonic round. Of course, there is screening round, whether it's in person or telephonic. I'm not saying that it has to be telephonic all the time, but even after, knowing the fact that we will have some screening rounds of interviews initially, you will still have these foundations which you need to be prepared for, whether or not you are preparing to be a software engineer, or anything that requires coding, or anything that requires design. So what are those? How can you achieve certain level of confidence by preparing for those upfront? So those are the things that you need to remember. Why? Because attaining a level of confidence before attending any interview is paramount, right? Like whether you're attending a technical interview, people are so friendly these days, whether it's a coding interview or a design interview, or if it's even behavioral for that matter, or situational or problem solving rounds, whatever it is, interviewers are trained to be very friendly, but they can only get as friendly as they can, because you need to give them a certain level of confidence. And what will give you that confidence? Being prepared. If you're not preparing for the foundational stuff, at least if you're prepared for the foundational stuff, you can show off that confidence. You can come off as somebody who will at least be willing to learn, rather than being someone who is just there, not prepared at all. So you don't want to be that, right? So number one is preparing. Be prepared with all the other things that are less complicated. When I say less complicated, of course, it's not easy. It's not a cakewalk for many people. Cracking the programming rounds will be easy, but cracking the behavioral and the leadership rounds will be difficult. Why? Because they probably are not very used to it, or not practicing those things. So I'm not belittling the importance or the criticality of being prepared for behavioral and communication and leadership rounds. But all I'm saying is, if you're sound and prepared in those areas, which require a different kind of preparation. Basically, like socializing, grabbing a friend and talking to them about a topic which involves leadership, or talking to them, asking them to interview you with questions which are situational in nature. Hey, tell me about a time you were supposed to lead a huge project, but you ended up making a silly mistake, and then you had to apologize and then start all over from the scratch. Tell me about an incident like that. So grab a friend and talk about situations like that, where you gain some confidence and be prepared for all the things that are outside of a core preparatory skills. So that will give for someone who is ready to take on the interview, right? What are those rounds? Like I said before, I've already listed them. Behavioral questions, problem solving exercises, like the one I said, giving a situation and asking you to solve it. Team building or collaborative rounds, presentation and communication rounds. What else could be there? So these are the ones. These are the 4 to 5 rounds which can be apart from your technical rounds. Now, why am I talking about this first? Because this requires a separate kind of preparation. There is no set framework. There is no right or wrong answer. Traditionally, there would have been some answers which are very which may sound cliche, and that might go against you as well. So a good amount of preparation, a good amount of watching some recorded sessions, watching interviews, or signing up for mock interviews and attending situational rounds or behavioral rounds like this will give you a lot of confidence, will boost you and prepare you for that. Another reason why I'm saying that you should address these things first. Now, you're all the 60 people or 60 odd people who have attended, or 50 odd people who have attended this meeting today, are probably set in your minds that you want to attend this interview. You want to give these interviews at some point in the career, or some point in the future, or as soon as you finish your meeting, you're probably wanting to attend Google interviews or interviews in other companies like that. Now, you can go and tell your friends who have not even attended this meeting, because they're like, okay, it's not my thing. I'm scared to even prepare for those interviews. I'm sorry about that. I'm scared to even prepare for those interviews. Why am I going to attend this session? It's a waste of my time. So there may be people like that, or there may be even some of you sitting there and wondering, okay, this sounds like a distant dream, or this sounds like a distant goal. I'm not going to try for this. I just want to listen what they have to say. That's all. So if you're one of those people, just remember, preparing for these behavioral rounds, communication rounds, leadership rounds will give you the confidence that it takes to go ahead and prepare, and the motivation it takes to prepare for your programming rounds and design rounds and other technical rounds, subject matter rounds, which is probably what is scaring you in the first part, if at all. And again, there may be exceptions. For some people that would be easier, and the difficult part would be leadership. In any case, attending interviews like this will boost your confidence and will get you going for the other rounds, which require a solid amount of guidance, a solid amount of preparation, dedicated time of preparation, which we'll get to in a little bit, right? So is that clear? Like, do you all understand the importance of, or at least understand why it is important to? For me, it personally worked, and that is why I'm sharing this with you. So just ping me in the chat if that resonates with you. Ping me in the chat if you agree, and if you feel like this is something that you would consider. Just say yes or no, so that I can get a feel that, because we are not with our cameras on, which is fine. I'm not expecting you to be live with your camera on if you're not comfortable, but I just want to say it will be engaging for me to know that you're all there listening. Cool. Very good. So now the next part that comes here is, okay, now I have to prepare for leadership rounds and behavioral round. How do I go ahead preparing for it? There is so much material available today in YouTube. There is so much material that's available in other channels like LinkedIn. There are so many like meetup groups, for instance, who talk about specific things like that. There are so many people out there who have already cleared it, or who are already doing it as a service. Like when I say service, of course, it's paid. There are some people I know who conduct interviews, like mock interviews. I'm not saying everyone has to do it, but if you're very shy to talk to a friend about, I'm not ashamed to say that I paid for a lot. I took mock interviews, like at least 25 to 30 mock interviews myself, not just for programming, but also for interpersonal rounds. I had given behavioral rounds. I had given leadership rounds before I appeared for interviews. Why? It's because with friends, it's sometimes you feel ashamed to share, not ashamed, what is the right word, you'll probably be shy, or you probably will not be yourself. So I'm not saying this is the only way. I'm not. So you, if you're thinking, okay, do I have to pay now to attend interviews? No, that's not what I'm saying. But if it is an option, don't dismiss that option, because it's not bad at all. Okay, so go ahead and prepare yourself for things like that. Be confident when you're preparing for behavioral interviews, because the first step, all it takes, once you're prepared behaviorally, for instance, what are the situations you're going to talk about as a fresher, leadership wise, what are the things that you can talk about from your college experience. First of all, prepare a whole list of a Google Sheet list of, or an app sheet list of items that you have done in your college, whether it's programmatically done, or whether it's a project that you have done, it's a game you have developed, or it's in terms of technology. And in terms of leadership, if you have conducted an event, or if you have presented, or if you have taught a lesson or two to schools, they list everything that you have done. That itself, reading through what you have prepared or what you have contributed to the society and your college itself, will give you that confidence it takes to prepare for a behavioral and leadership interview. So remember all the things. And the next thing is, prepare a sheet that lists all the times that you have been empathetic. Why this is important? Because that will give you the confidence of who you are, and it will also give the interviewers the confidence of, so some things that are culturally not a part of a thing. It's not a bad thing. I'm not saying we are not cultured enough. I'm just saying it's not a part of our culture to show off that empathy as a thing that you're doing. Like we are not raised that way in a certain way. Because I have traveled in different countries. I've stayed outside of India. I know how we are culturally different. Even though we do a lot of things, we care about a lot of things and other people, we don't show it off. We don't talk about it. We don't explicitly say it. Why? Because we are culturally not raised that way. So we end up doing a lot of things but not speaking about it. Even though it is good to be empathetic, it is good to speak less about it, but it's an interview. Nobody else is going to speak for you. So make a list of all the things that you have done that has made the lives of other people better, made the status of your society better. So make a list of all those things. Leadership does not only include being on the stage and speaking. Leadership also includes the number of times you have made someone else's day, made someone else's life. So make a list of all the things. It will not only help you in the interview, it will also help you be a better person, right? So that is one thing I wanted to speak about leadership, and also about behavioral. Now, behavioral can be tacky. Sometimes you may be asked questions around what will you do in this kind of situation when you have a tough colleague, or what did you do when you had you had a laptop which I don't know what kind of questions they'll ask freshers, but I'm just making this up. You had just one opportunity for one person to complete an exercise, and it was between 2 or 3 people in your classroom. How did you manage that situation? How did you end up solving that situation? Like, how did you just selfishly just do your thing, or did you enable the whole class to come up with a solution together, or something like that? Just think of all the ways behavioral question can impact. Convert the situation in a way that it works for you at your level. Basically, what I'm saying is, at an org level, if you're an experienced candidate, your responses will be slightly different from when you're a fresher or when you're a college grad. Why? Because you may not have faced so many experiences in real life, work-wise, like you might when you're more experienced when you're in college. But there are different kinds of problems. So make a list, be prepared, communicate well, talk to yourself, record your sessions, and listen to yourself over and over again. Watch your body language. See if you're communicating with an impact. So there is a difference between speaking and communicating. Communicating is when you're creating an impact. When you know you want to make a difference, you want to make the other person, not make the other person listen, but when you want to make the other person connect with you, that is communication. Speaking is just saying something out there, standing there and saying, okay, there's behavioral, there is leadership round, there is programming round, there is algorithm round, there is design round. So that is speaking, right? Because I'm going to list everything. I'm going to say, okay, refer this, refer that, do this, do that. That is not communicating. Communicating is empathizing even with the interviewer. Right now, between the interviewer and the interviewee, who's you, there is going to be a connection, and you will feel that they are at a better position than you because they are interviewing. But trust me, that is not the case. The interviewer is much more on fire than you are. Why? Because a problem can have multiple solutions, a situation can have multiple answers. They are on the verge of if it is a behavioral or leadership round, trust me, they at least have time to go back and think about what you said and then decide. But it's a programming round. They have, especially in companies like Google, where they have to keep the pace with you, keep up your pace, and still have to know that whatever answer you're giving is one of the ways to solve it. They should be able to guide you to say whether this will work or not. It's funny. Trust me, you're at a much better position than the interviewer because you have only one problem to solve, and in your mind there is probably only one way, unless you already know the problem and you know like 3 different ways to solve the problem. So you're confused between choosing one and then delivering the answer. But for the interviewer, that's not the case. Imagine you're in a much better position than the interviewer because they have to keep up with the personality that you are, the solution that you're providing, the design solution that you're providing, whatever it is. So you're at a much better place. Remember that and have that confidence in you. Even if you don't know, feel free to ask for help, right? Even if it is a behavioral round, if you don't understand the question or if you don't like the question, try to tweak the answer in a way that it works in your favor and help them to say that this is something that you can be honest. There is no harm in being honest, but make sure when you're being honest, you're not coming off in a bad light also, right? So that is one thing. Companies like Google and especially in Google, they always give importance to empathy, importance to your personality, meaning not, when I say personality, it's not how you look or what you, how you present yourself is important, the confidence is important, but by personality, I mean that how well you treat others, how well you empathize with others, what is your emotional quotient, that is really important because being googly is a big thing in Google. So they definitely will look out for those things. So try to practice that in day-to-day life. You still have like 2 years or 4 years if you're in the first year, or 3 years, or I don't know, whatever it is. If you have just 1 more year to complete, practice empathizing. Practice, make this an everyday habit, and make it a habit to empathize with people because that will take you a long way. It's not just about one interview, right? Okay. Now, with that out of the way, let us get into the part that probably most of you are, I don't know if it is something that's challenging for some of you, but I've heard this, why is it so difficult? Some people will say that I'm not comfortable programming. I am not used to it. It is something I don't like. Do I have to spend so many hours preparing for Google interviews? Is it really as effort consuming as it sounds? The short answer is yes, it is. I'm not saying it's difficult, but effort consuming, yes. You have to spend the effort it takes to prepare for your Google interviews, especially programming rounds. If you're looking to be a part of a team that aligns with the engineering, that aligns with the technology, basically the product engineering, whatever aligns with engineering, whatever aligns with software development, if you're in that ladder, in any of the teams in that ladder or any of the organizations within that ladder, technology ladder, you will have the programming round for sure. You will have the hands-on coding round. So now, how much do you have to prepare? How much time do you have to spend preparing for this? You will have to prepare at least a solid, if you're already not new to programming, if you're already comfortable with the specific, you know which programming language you like and all. So you are a coder. Let's say you're a coder, but you're not prepared for competitive programming or for programming interviews and all. Then you probably can get away with 1 or 2 months. But if you're brand new to programming, then I'd say give it a solid 3 to 6 months. Because first of all, you need to choose a programming language that you happen to like over time. And then you will have to start solving a lot of competitive programming questions out there. And then you have to get comfortable solving that within a timeline. And then you have to get comfortable whiteboarding your solutions, programming. And the last part, you should get comfortable programming and communicating what you're doing at the same time. So these are the 5 things that are definitely required. If you go bottom up, why is it important to communicate while you code? Like I said, when you're interviewing, let's take, now we're talking about programming round, hands-on programming round. You're the interviewee, I'm the interviewer. Like I said, you're in a much better position because you have, let's say after you understand the question and all, you're in a much better position than me because you start thinking of only one thing, solving the problem. But I am looking at a person who can come up with any possible answer, and I need to validate whether you're right or wrong, whether you're going in the right direction or not. I must guide you. If you're going completely off track, I need to bring you back, and I need to make sure that you're understanding what I'm saying, and I'm able to communicate with you in a way that we both go further, right? So now, why is it important for you to communicate? Because that will help the interviewer ease a little bit and understand where you're going with it. So always, 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 as soon as you get the question, repeat the question to the interviewer and say, is this what you're asking me to do? Am I supposed to do this? Is this a problem statement? And this is the end result. If you always have a pen and paper or a whiteboard. Sorry, I'm talking about when you're doing interviews virtually. Now I think we have started interviewing in person. If you're in the same location, if you're still continuing to do virtual interviews, then it's fine. If you're in person, there will be a whiteboard for sure. So make sure you're writing down your answer in a format that is registered in your mind, that has been registered in your mind, and make sure you're approaching it the right way, meaning you know what the end result should be. So always repeat the question and repeat the answer that they're expecting. Answer in the sense the end result that they're expecting. This is a programming round, right? So there is definitely an answer that you're going to be working towards. Now the next thing is, if you want to take a minute or two to think about it and come up with the ways, that is fine. Just tell them, can you give me a minute or two to just process this in my mind and come up with the multiple ways I want to solve this problem. That is totally fine. But don't take 3 minutes or 4 minutes and not speak. That is not okay. If you feel like you've been quiet for some time and you're not getting anywhere, ask for tips. See, maybe you're nervous, right? So that is a possibility. Ask them that you want to drink a cup of water, or you want to just breathe a little bit, breathe, and then connect with them and say, I have this idea in mind. I know this is what I need to come out with, but my mind is not working right now. Can you just help me get started? Can you give me a hint or something? Like, you can ask. I'm not saying this is a way, this is a template to do. If you're able to get the answer, well and good. I'll go the happy path. I'll go to the happy path in a second. But before that, let's say the path where you don't know, your mind is currently like, I don't know what to do. Then there's no harm in asking for a hint or asking them for a guideline as to, can you help me just connect the dots? Is there anything that you could tell me right now that could help me out? Okay, that is definitely a thing. So once they give you that, start connecting the dots from there, start solving the problem from there. Right now you can take a minute to work out the possible ways and list it. Now the happy path, you already know the solution to it. You know how many possible ways are there to answer it, or you know the next step at least. So now list it down, whiteboard it, and say, these are the 3 ways I know I can do it, or this is the next step that I can do it. Do you think it is a good way to proceed? Now, as an interviewer, I will tell you, okay, I think your next step is right, but can you tell me what is your entire list of steps that you want to take? Do you know where you're going? Do you know how you're going to solve the problem? If I'm the interviewer, I will ask you, do you know how to solve the problem? Do you know how you're going to get it? Not just the next step, because the next step is probably getting input from the command line. So that is probably going to be easy. But how are you going to solve this problem? So I'll ask you the approach. So always give them the approach. It doesn't have to be a pseudocode or something. It can just be English lines, statements where you're using the variables to show that this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to get to the result. Now, the next thing, so we have discussed both the parts where you know the answer, you don't know the answer. The next thing is, if the interviewer is happy with your approach, they will say, okay, carry on, I like it, go ahead, go for it. Now you'll have to start writing it, whiteboarding the actual code, not pseudocode. You will have to tell them how you will solve the problem, right? You'll have to actually go into the programming language that you're comfortable with, and you'll have to solve it. So there again, do I have to memorize all the syntax? That's why I'm saying, while you're preparing, whiteboard it, always whiteboard. I'll get to the part where you're preparing and some resources that can help you. But yeah, once you whiteboard 100, 200 questions, you will not have even a second thought about what should I write. It will be easy for you. So that is one thing. Now, let's say you start coding and you start coding in the sense you start writing your code. You will not be given an IDE unless, I don't know about other companies. In Google, so far as I know, it's not about solving code and writing code in IDE. You'll have to whiteboard it. Sorry, you'll have to whiteboard it, or if it's virtual, you'll be using it in Doc. You'll be coding in Docs, right? So you have to write the entire code, not pseudocode this time. So you'll have to spell out everything. As much as possible, modularize it. Make sure that you write it into small methods. You break the problem down into small pieces that you can consume, the interviewer can consume in a way it's easier to approach your problem and solve it, right? Let's say you completed it. Now, take some sample inputs and solve every single method or every single step in your program to show that this will work. That is another thing that you have to remember. And the last thing, while you're doing this, communicate with the interviewer. Even while coding, you cannot say, please be quiet for some time, I have to code. That's not something you can say. You have to speak and communicate and code at the same time. You have to keep communicating to make sure you're still in the right direction. And once you complete coding, you still have to communicate and wait for them to check and tell you if they have any inputs. And then if they say that this is wrong, this will not work, go back and correct it, then you'll have to do that. If you don't know how to approach it after you've spent like 20 minutes, you can still ask for hints. You can ask for any other direction that will work. Random inputs, taking a bunch of inputs, positive, negative cases, and all, at least 2 or 3, and then solve and show to them that this will work. And then revisit the whole thing if you have missed out something. That is another step. And the final step is for you to take a moment to think about multiple ways to solve this. And if you have algorithmically chosen the most efficient one, if not, if there is room for improvement, or obviously there is always room for improvement. But if you can't think of any, you can talk to them and say, is there anything else I can do to improve? But always be prepared for room for improvement as well. Because once you complete the code in a certain way, you will have to, this is a very important step. When I was doing my, when I was giving interviews in Google way back in time, when I was like just a few years out of college and working in other companies, I was not aware of this, nor was I prepared for something like this, where if I completed the code, I'll be fine. Okay, that's it. I would not think about improvising it. I'll not tell them that there are other ways to make it more efficient. So I'll change the algorithm and I'll do it in a different way. So I'd rather pick a different data structure instead of list. I'll probably use a hash map or something like that. I wouldn't do that, because for me, oh my god, I completed it, I'm done. Phew, that's it. So that should not be your approach to it. Try to find always better ways to improve, and then ask them if they want to see that as well. Sometimes they'll say yes, go ahead and solve it in that method. Then, well, you've got yourself another chance to prove that you can do more than what is expected of you, and you've given yourself a better chance of getting through to the next round. Now, all this time I was talking about what you'll do at the interview. Now, for preparing for this, like I said, if you are new to programming, you'll spend a good 6 months or 3 to 6 months of getting there. While you're preparing, make a list of all the topics, because when you're interviewing for this kind of programming round in any company, you will find a lot of resources out there that will tell you what are the topics that you need to cover. Like a syllabus, make a list of all the topics. I remember me doing that. Like I had around 40 topics which I have to go one after the other. 40 might sound a little overwhelming, but I had listed down even the smallest possible, like understring, the string buffer, the string this, that, and all. So that is why I had so many topics, but it's up to you. If you can cut short it and have like 20 or 25, list all the topics and start solving problems one after the other. When I say problems, like programming questions, why is it important to do that? Because so that way you give yourself more chance to cover a lot of things, or at least be abreast of the things that come your way in interviews. There are people who say I'm strong in certain areas and not in other. If you can get away with it in an interview, that is great. But it's always better to try your hands out on all the topics out there, so that way you're not in for a surprise or a shock when you're at the interview, right? So list all the topics, so you know which ones you're strong in and which ones you're weak in, because there are some competitive programming websites out there like LeetCode, Geek for Geeks, or HackerRank, many kind of like competitive programming sites, which will tell you at the end of your session, it'll tell you which areas or topics you need to improve in. But you don't even have to go there. If you list it yourself, you for yourself will know, I'm good at strings, I'm good at handling, sorting, I can do searching better. I know all kinds of searching out there. I know I can do binary search or binary tree based programs. I can solve all sorts of heap programs easily, but I don't know tree traversals that well. That could be you. So now focus more on that. How can I improve? Now let's say, before we jump into how can we improve, let's say you have gone through this list, you have solved your, you know which ones you're good at and which ones you need improvement. Now, how do I improve? So one way that I have found very efficient or very helpful for me is videos. Sometimes there are, pick your teacher, pick your person. Don't just go for there'll be a lot of people who are talking about how to programming questions or interviews out there, hands-on coding. There's so many people, you don't have to listen to everybody. But in the beginning stages, yes, to pick one that works for you, the ones that you understand better, just pick one and stick to them. For when I was preparing and I did not understand certain concepts, I'd always go for a specific, the same person, the same content, the same kind of delivery, because for me, I'm more connected to that. I know what I can expect. I can understand the concepts much better. I know how they'll break things down, and I know sometimes I'll even adapt that style. So that way, doesn't mean that you cannot have a style of programming, but I'll adapt that style because it's not my strong suit. So I'll draw that style from them, and then I'll try to deliver it in a way that works. So definitely list your topics and prepare. Videos help rather than sitting and looking at a bunch of discussion and conversation on competitive websites. So videos will help in areas for preparing, not just always doing competitive programming and not knowing why you're doing certain things is not good. So don't memorize anything. Make sure you know how things work. Make sure you know the fundamentals of programming. Make sure you understand the fundamentals of all this data structure and algorithm concepts before you actually solve it. That doesn't mean you cannot start programming right away. You can, but don't memorize the code, because they will see through it. The interviewers, when I say they. Okay. Now coming to the part, going back, that is where videos will help you, and lessons like that will help you, because it's not just about knowing which line comes where. It is about knowing why a certain data structure or certain algorithm works in a certain way. So knowing the basics, knowing the why is very critical. Again, this is for programming interview. Solve as many questions as you can. Divide the problems into easy. You don't have to. The websites and so many online free material that's out there have already divided the content into easy, medium, hard, extremely hard, and all the extremely easy categories. Start with extremely easy, because that will, at the time of preparing for the interview and at the initial time and towards the end, always solve very easy to easy problems, because that will give you a good self confidence boost. In between, solve all sorts of problems, medium, complex, and all. You have to at least do 200, 250 to gain that level of thing like you can do. If you're not already, because you're still in college, I'm saying. If you're experienced and you know you can solve problems in your own style, that is different. But otherwise, you have to solve a good number of problems, or you have to be continuously doing some competitive coding in order to gain that confidence. That's it. I'm not saying it's difficult. I'm just saying practice. It's okay if you're not inherently great at it to begin with, but with practice, it will just become natural to you. Now, is it essential? Why is it's so hyped up? Why should I do programming? It's not like that. You don't have to do it if you don't like. There are always other areas that you can interview for. There is operations under marketing sales, which include technology, where you'll have to be working with technologies that don't essentially require coding on a day-to-day basis, right? So that is definitely, areas like that are definitely there. It is all about your interest, and I believe I was given to understand this program is this session is fundamentally for you to connect with from a programming perspective and from a design perspective, and that's why I'm giving you this. I'm sorry, I'm a little over time. I will give you time for questions and answers for sure. Another topic I wanted to talk about is a design. Again, this is a vast topic. Now, when should I start with design? You have to parallelly do it. If you're preparing for coding interviews in the morning, spend some time in the night looking at design. But design is interesting. Why? Programming is also interesting. For me, programming is more interesting than design. But there are some people who love design questions and design preparation. Why? It's like, let's say how you design an Uber app. How will you design an app for Uber? Design an architecture for Ola, or design an architecture for Swiggy. So there's so much content out there that will bring the architecture for you, and you have to just remember the concepts. You can mix and match. You can build your own architecture. For some people, this will be really fascinating. So trust me, you can make it as interesting as you want and not be overwhelmed by it. So spend some time preparing for your design interviews. Just know that there is only a few in the life cycle of or in the architecture of whatever problem they're giving to you. There is only so many stages. There's only so many components that can be there. Now, which component you're going to choose, what are the different options within that component, that comes with practice. But the components of the architecture itself is not going to change. For example, there is going to be a database, there is going to be a client server, client and there's going to be a server, or if it's serverless, then how are you going to solve it? There is going to be messaging components in the architecture. There are going to be dependencies. There are going to be integrations with third parties. There are going to be data preparation, big data related pipeline in the architecture. There's going to be machine learning pipeline in the architecture. So there's only so much that you can have. Now, what are the options and what all you need to know? That you can narrow down. You don't have to be an expert in everything. Just understanding the entire architecture at a high level is enough. Now, if you have a specialization, like I'm good at front-end coding, so I'm going to talk more about it, that's okay. You can tell them and talk about it. Some people might be interested in machine learning, and you can say, I'm good at the machine learning concept, so I'll give you the whole design, but I'll talk in detail about this particular thing. Then go for it. You can choose your expertise and talk about it. But as a fresher, you don't have to choose a domain and be an expert already. You need to know at a high level how you're going to create an impact in what level and what are the components you're going to talk about. In some cases, as a fresher, you won't even have that kind of an exhaustive design interview. So focus, and I'm not saying it will not be there. I'm just saying it might be slightly different and very high level for a fresher, if I'm not wrong. Definitely, you'll be given a guideline by you'll be given a guideline. They'll tell you what all you need to prepare and what are the topics. When the recruiter talks to you, they'll tell you what are all the topics you need to prepare from. They'll send you resources, online resources and articles that you need to. They won't say prepare this and this is your question key. No, that won't be the case. But these are all the resources that you can prepare from. Will be a guideline that you'll get from your recruitment team. So definitely they'll be in touch. They'll be guiding along through the entire process as to interview process. So prepare. Keeping those things in mind, because right now you're still in your first or second year or third year or even in final year, you still have a lot of time to pace yourself, to prepare a timeline and prepare for these things. So we've already covered the behavioral and leadership part, so I'm not going to repeat that, but make sure, gain the confidence, start coding, enjoy watching all the design interviews and all the design components, because as a fresher, if you know more than you're expected to, there's nothing like it. So be prepared for that. And then grab a friend and do a bunch of interview questions. Help each other. Like I said, empathy is really critical. Sit next to opposite each other, solve the problem, time yourselves, ask questions, come up with scenarios, answer each other, help each other out. The last thing I wanted to share was some resources and articles. The ones that I was very fond of when I was preparing for a while. I like to follow Gail McDowell. I used to like her concept and approach. She used to be an ex-Googler. Her handle of data structures and algorithms, I really enjoyed her style of teaching. And the design, she has some design and programming books as well, but a lot of her content is online in HackerRank YouTube channel, so you can follow that. If you want to reach out to me, also you can do, but I don't conduct sessions like that, particularly specific for interviews, because it is, first of all, it's a lot of responsibility. So I'm not doing that full time, so I cannot dedicate the time it actually requires, the time it deserves. So I don't do that, but I can help you with other resources that have helped me in the past. So that's where I'd stop and we'll open up for questions. I'm sorry we have only 10 minutes, but feel free to shoot your questions. You can also type in or unmute yourself, raise your hand, and so I'll pick one by one for questions. I see there's one from Arnab. Is CP important for cracking, man? Competitive programming, you mean? Arnab?
Yes. No.
Yes or no? So if you mean competitive programming, see, it doesn't mean that you have to join a competition and land up in the top 5 or anything. That's not what I'm saying. Just go to their website and solve existing questions. That's all. I'm not saying that you should be rank 1 or you should. If you like doing that, do it. But you need to prepare for questions from there because it will help you. When I say competitive programming, I'm not talking about hackathons, participate in hackathons. It's good if you're interested, do it. I have done that a lot in my early years of my career. Even now, I do participate in hackathons. I grab a team and then I start working towards that. But if you're not interested in participating in any competition, that is still fine. But go to websites like, when I say competitive programming, I refer to these sites like LeetCode, HackerRank, Geek for Geeks. All these questions you can solve. They have very systematic way of assessing you in terms of which areas you're strong at and all. That's why they are good. I'm not. You cannot rely on the questions. Questions can be from anywhere, but these will help you prepare and gain the confidence. That's all. Because they have segregated them as easy, medium, complex, and all. You will gain the confidence it takes to get somewhere with programming. That's all. Does anyone else have any other question? Updates regarding job opportunities. See, I'm not very good at that because I think you can go to careers portal and sometimes recruiters actually post on websites, career sites. So follow them, reach out to them. If they are the ones who are equipped to answer, the recruitment teams and team members are the ones who are equipped to answer that question, and the careers website will allow you to do that. Can a mechanical engineer enter Google? Yeah. If you're interested, if you're interested in the things that Google does, then definitely, yeah. It doesn't matter what your background is. Apart from programming, what are core subjects we should focus on? All of CS subjects are important. Why would you think they will have it in your syllabus otherwise? Open source web app development projects help even if fresher doesn't have a strong grip of CP and DSA. No, you need to have DSA. You have to have a strong grip of DSA. Nothing else is going to be useful. I'm not saying nothing, sorry, that is a wrong statement. I'll take that back. But it is going to be useful to give you the confidence of programming, to get you fundamentally, foundationally strong. Yes, definitely it will help you. But no, it's not going to help you if you're not doing your DSAs. Also focus on extensive high-level design or only low-level works. Low-level design is more difficult than high-level design. Design is important, but for freshers, the design interviews will be slightly different than experienced candidates because, of course, you might not have started designing unless you've already done a product on your own and end-to-end architecture. So there will be difference, but definitely it will be good to start looking at it. Freshers will have design questions for sure. Situation, I don't know the answer to that question, Rohit. We found some questions in interviews like, why do you want to join a company? So how to face these types of questions? Yeah, you need to read about the company. You need to be prepared. So like the famous popular saying that there is, if you're failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. You need to be prepared to talk about the company and just take a look at what your vision statement is, what the mission is, how they're connecting with the world, what they're contributing to the society, to your country, to your locality, to your community. What can you talk about that sets you apart or sets them apart in your mind that will help you answer that question in confidence and also give you a better chance of being noticed for that response, then definitely you have to give yourself an opportunity to prepare for that. Read about it. In my case, there were a very strong. I got this question. In fact, I had a very strong list of things that I liked about Google, to be specific, and also how it connected, how it resonates with me on a day-to-day basis, and why is it so important for me to be a part of that. So, split the question into three different perspectives. One is why they are great, why they are good in your perspective, why you want to be associated with the company, and the third one is what can you bring to the table. So that would be a great way to approach it. Any limit for participating in these interviews? Limit in the sense, what you mean to ask is if you don't make it the first time, can you do again? I don't think there's any number to it, but I think they'll tell you a timeline when you can interview again, if I'm not wrong. Before even an interview happens, how to make sure that my application gets shortlisted. So definitely the recruiters are equipped and well trained to make that decision. So make sure there are a lot of websites and a lot of content out there that tells you how to stand out in a list of resumes, how to make sure that you're able to communicate everything that you want to, everything that you're good at in your resume, that it stands out. So definitely make sure to go through all that content and come up with a resume that works in your favor. And I think the recruiters are well trained to notice you if you've taken all the due diligence for that. And you can also reach out to recruitment teams, not to everyone, because not everyone will be able to help you around that. Reach out to recruiters and see if they can provide you that guideline as to whether or not, and ask them how you can improve or how you can present yourself in a way that they can get you an opportunity to interview. Resource, yeah, I'll provide that in the chat. Does completing FUBAR challenge guarantee an interview? Nothing. I don't know that. I don't know. If it says so, then possibly they will give you an opportunity to interview. If it says so in the email, then yes. You can always respond to them and ask. I don't know if guarantee an interview, so I don't really know. But definitely, if they have reached out to you to take the challenge, then I think it has a direction, and they'll have the ultimate approach for what they want to do next with you. How to approach for referral. Work closely with someone who has known your work. Referral will work if you're an experienced candidate and somebody can vouch for you in I don't think freshers and referrals will resonate with each other, but definitely if you have worked with someone and someone has seen your work close enough, because in Google definitely that is a thing that you will refer. There are questions specifically about how you know how well you know the person's work, or how you're able to perceive their work, and how will it be relevant for the role and the company. So definitely there will be questions like that. So make sure you're working with someone that you have previously worked with you or have a clear idea of what you do and very appreciative of your work. Then that will definitely help you with referral. Can you please throw some light on the recruitment of R&D team in Google? You can read about all those recruitment related questions in careers website. That will give you more idea about what are the steps, what are the process, what are the resources out there, and what is the team looking for. All those details you can get there. How can we do internship as an ECE student? Internship has its own. I think there are separate announcements for internship specifically. There is a link. Same thing in careers. You can shortlist for interns, filter for interns, and then you can see if there is anything in there that matches your requirement, and if go ahead and apply for it. They'll again after a review they'll get back to you if you're shortlisted. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're from ECE background or mechanical background. If you qualify and if they feel that it matches the requirement that they have, definitely I think internship would be an option. is best to learn. There's no such thing as that, Pranav. There's no specific programming language that's good or bad. It's up to you. Whatever is your interest, go for it. Whatever you're comfortable, go for it. There is no specific. There's not one. For me personally, I'm a Java programmer and I'm comfortable with that. I like Python as well. Much shorter in terms of number of lines of code as compared to Java. But still, if I have to choose something for writing a quick code, I'll always go for Java. What to do to become a system administrator? Which system? There's a lot of questions around it. That's a very open-ended question, but yeah, whatever it is that you have in mind, prepare towards. Just get the resources that will work around that particular profile. Go check in careers website if there is a profile that you like and see what requirements they have and start preparing for that. You can also reach out to recruiters and ask for the structure and the type of interviews that they'll have, so that way you can be well prepared. See, if your profile is shortlisted for interviews, you don't have to keep looking outside. They will give you, the recruiters will give you a structure of your interview. They'll say what are the categories of questions you'll be asked and where all you can find some resource that will help you gain an understanding of what it is. Good projects that may look good on a resume. If you're asking from programming background, any end-to-end project, like somebody had asked before, web projects, something that has a full stack client-server based project, something that that makes a difference, like a gaming, or something that helps something with your university or institution, or something that creates an impact to the society, something that has helped. I know some final year students who have done a project in, I think they did something for a community, for a fisherman community in Kolkata. So I know the girl who headed that project. So she was in her final year or third year of college when she did that, and she did something that enhanced the businesses, or the lifestyle, or not lifestyle, the day-to-day business of the fisherman community. And I think that speaks a lot. That speaks volume, even if it is not a very complicated architecture or a sophisticated technology out there. That made a difference in an entire difference for an entire community. So projects like that will definitely stand out. At least if I'm an interviewer, I'd be impressed. Best and proper resources to learn programming languages. Yeah, the one that I said was Gail McDowell. I personally like it. I'm not advertising or anything. It's just that this is something that I could connect to very well. This is the person I'm talking about. She has a lot of good content in HackerRank channel on YouTube. She has her own books. Whatever works for you, you can follow that. But there are many other communities out there, many other channels, and people who are doing this full time, who are also teaching, and they also engage with college students and graduates and experienced people. And there are also companies that do interview training and all. But I would say, you can, if you're asking me, this was my option. Red Hat administers a strong knowledge of Linux systems. Krishnendu, that's a very specific question. I don't know. You can check the role that you're liking to apply for and see if they have such a requirement. As a fresher, I don't think, if you have a certificate, you may stand out. Definitely your profile will stand out. If you're looking for a role in that category, then definitely it will stand out. And there's no harm in having certifications or learning more, but you cannot dismiss the fact that are bare minimum or foundational for the role you're applying for. So always cross-reference with a list of requirements. I would always say that. There is a lot of programming languages, Pranav. There is no specific answer to that. Start developing games. Career path. Before getting into Google, I was always a software engineer, software developer, full stack, Java developer. There was no other track. I always was in which organization, which department changed, but my career trajectory was always in software engineer, senior software engineer, analyst, senior staff, principal, and then it was always software development. Right now I'm a developer advocate in Google. So that was my trajectory throughout. Yeah, of course, all my development was in data management background. So it was either master data management area, marketing operations area, where they require software, and I was in the software development team, working closely with delivering products for them. So which company, which organization within the company, that differs, but ultimately my role was the trajectory was the same: software development, software engineering, and development. Does that answer your question, Rohit? I think we are at time as well. I can take one last question before. And I started programming also easy. That was my interest too. So career path was not just after I finished college. I started programming in my class 9, but I was interested in that. That is something that I knew that is what I wanted to do. So when I was in 11th, I took computer science because I knew that's the only thing I want to focus on. And then I studied computer science engineering because I wanted to do hands-on programming. That's all I wanted to do all the time. So as soon as I finished my college, or as soon as I started college, I started enrolling in a institute, computer science institute. So I get access to computer. Of course, it's been 16 years. So imagine 16 years ago, there was not like I didn't have. We were not having a computer at home or internet at home. So I used to go there, and I would spend a lot of time there. So I started doing programming, taking programming lessons, and I started also teaching. So when I studied Java, I was teaching C, and then I studied something else. I was teaching Java. So I always taught and I studied, and I used computers. So definitely, I was interested in that. So that has been my career path, not just after working, or not just while working. Even before that, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. That's why I'm saying go drive your path based on your interests, not just because you have to do a certain thing, because that will help you align your interests with the opportunities. Does the college where you studied BTech matter? Good knowledge is required. No. College doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. See, once you're out of school, you're equipped with all that you need to shape your future. Once you finish school, when I say school, the up to 12th standard is what in India, right? So you are well equipped. You're an adult, or not an adult, but at least you've crossed the teenage. You're now a person who can make that kind of not a decision, but at least you can say that this is your interest and this is what you like doing. If you don't know at that point, it's still fine. Go with the flow, but I don't think just because your college doesn't have a certain infrastructure, or there is no resource that is providing you with what you need, that doesn't mean that even now. So nowadays, there is no such thing as you have to sit in a class to take a particular lesson. You have to attend the classes. Of course, your attendance matters for engineering, but there is so much content and so much exposure these days. You don't even need to be worried about missing a class on data structures, or missing a class in digital signal processing, because there's so much out there that you can follow and understand even better. So definitely I would say, don't limit yourself to the thought of, I'm not from this city, or I'm not from a big college or big university. That doesn't matter at all. That's it, I think. Thank you, Abhijit, for that last question. That is an important question too, because a lot of people think that just because they feel less of themselves because they are not from a certain city, or they are not in a place where they can get access to the resources. It's not the case. All you need is Wi-Fi, or everybody has a phone. Just tether your phone, and there's so much opportunity and learning and content out there. Just keep learning, I would say. More than learning, start teaching. Like, interact with people. Grab a friend and tell them what you know. That will help you hone your skills and get better. I hope this session was useful. Eligibility criteria, academic CGPA. I think you can look at that in the career website. Like I said, I'm not very familiar with the eligibility criteria. You can look at that in the careers website, actually. Please share some resources. Oh, sorry, I thought I did. I just gave you a name in the chat. Gail McDowell. So that is a person that I follow, and Hacker Rank channel on YouTube. Sorry, not rank. There are lots, so many. There's also another site. I forgot a lot of them, but I'll keep you posted. I'll keep Jay posted with the links. But this will help you. Okay. So that's about it. I'll stop here. And please feel free to pass on your questions if you have any to Jay, and Jay can consolidate and come up with one more list of questions that I can answer offline, and he'll deliver it to you. Cool. Thank you, Shreya. Thank you all. I appreciate your time. I know this is on a Saturday evening. I know how much commitment you have towards shaping your careers. I really appreciate that, and I wish you all the very best. And just go for it. Don't let any fear stop you from preparing for what you want.
Thank you, ma'am. This session was really amazing. It was just very inspiring. I mean, I'm out of words. I feel like I could just hear you talk all day long. So just really thank you for this amazing session.
Thank you, Afreen. Thanks. Thanks. I really appreciate that you mentioned that. Thank you so much. Yes, Beena, go ahead. I know you said a different name last time. Beena, yeah, I see your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for using your valuable time for us. This was a very interactive, very useful session. And as a beginner, I got an elaborate idea about it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of night, and then have a great Sunday. All the best. Bye.